The Realities of Socialism in Venezuela and Cuba by Promod Puri. Apart from the rest of the world, Cuba and Venezuela have been my keen observation fields under their so-called socialist caps for the last few years. Since I am more inclined towards the socialist ideal of equality, human rights, and caring for the poor than the right-wing political agenda, which favors the rich and powerful, I have a keen interest in how both Cuba and Venezuela are performing for the betterment of the poor and ordinary people in their respective countries under the socialist regime. In this study, I avoided as far as possible getting my knowledge and information from the biased media of the West, as well as the propaganda packages delivered by the PR machinery of Cuba and Venezuela. My primary channel for information and expert analysis of the political, social, and economic developments, including stagnation in these two nations, was The Conversation, a non-profit donation-based outlet that draws on academic sources. Additionally, I follow the latest events and trends and trust the CBC, BBC, and Al Jazeera for their excellent, impartial, fact-based, and intelligent commentary. Venezuela, like Cuba, is the darling of leftists worldwide, who fanatically refuse to acknowledge the realities of life faced by the people. Instead, they still think these countries are heaven for the standard of living and equality for their people. Venezuela is an oil-rich nation, but people face extreme poverty and hardships. In the last 10 years, there has been a significant migration of 7 million of its population to neighboring countries, including Colombia, Chile, Costa Rica, Panama, Peru, Spain, and even the USA. Till his dramatic kidnapping by the US Armed Forces, Nicolas Maduro has been embracing power for the last 13 years, after the death of his predecessor, President Hugo Chavez. A revolutionary turned a dictator, just like Cuba's Castro, who ruled the country for well over 50 years by crushing the opposition. The revolutionary and promising leader firmly shut down any voices of protest and dissent. 89% of Cubans live in extreme poverty, a figure reflecting not marginal hardship but near universal inability to secure basics like food, medicine, and shelter. 78% of Cubans want to emigrate because of a lack of opportunities and deteriorating living conditions. Cuba's population has declined sharply from over 11 million to under 9.75 million by the end of 2024, largely due to emigration and declining birth rates. The island nation has the strictest migration policy. Cuba historically touted universal health care and education, yet basic services are strained by professional emigration. Wages remain extremely low, often under $20 a month when adjusted, necessitating survival strategies in hard currency sectors. When extreme poverty affects 80+% of the population and the majority want to leave, the equality claimed by socialism becomes equality in misery and poverty, not empowerment. I have been to Cuba for 2 weeks and tried to peek through the lives of Cubans under the quote-unquote model of socialism, but was discouraged to see the failure of socialism in this otherwise heavenly, beautiful, and culturally rich nation of music, dance, and of course, cigars and rum. Both Cuban and Venezuelan regimes have maintained power by suppressing dissent, disadvantaging alternative perspectives, and weakening robust democratic institutions. Neither Cuba nor Venezuela represent a viable model of successful socialism in practice when measured against poverty and standard of living, economic freedom and opportunity, freedom of movement and political pluralism, demographic stability and population well-being. The facts don't undermine the moral appeal of equality and social justice. Socialism, as implemented in these states, has failed to deliver material improvement for the majority and has instead produced hardship, exodus, and disillusionment. Socialism, the bedrock of leftist ideological motivation and the advancement of morally and ethically sound principles, seeks a classless society, social justice for the working class and the poor, and the provision of essential services such as education, healthcare, and public transportation. But not in Venezuela and Cuba. Socialism has been defaced by Hugo, Castro, and their following leaderships to the extent of being felt like a fraud by the masses. When socialism gets corrupted by dictatorial leaders, it's my moral obligation, as well as that of other socialists worldwide, to snap and rip apart the shawls they cover themselves in. For more articles, visit promodpuri.com.